Right, I'm doing a video about gaming computers, December 2022. It's aimed squarely at the novice. Now, 2 weeks ago, I didn't have a fucking clue, you know, what a gaming computer was. I was asked by my son to update my computer, Dad. You know, I've done the hours of research, sitting there, looking at stuff. This is a brief video. Realistically skimming over the surface, if you like, of what's available for you in the second-hand market. The generation before the latest stuff. And I'm just going to bang the numbers out, okay? I'm just going to bang the numbers out because, oh crikey, there's so much to get through. You wouldn't believe it. But anyway, if I have to explain it, you know, like you're an absolute fucktard, then I shall. Okay, and here you go. Let's start. That thing there's the motherboard. Okay, behind this thing here is where the CPU sits, or the chip. Okay, this is where the random access memory sits. Okay. And new, or kind of a nuance, which you might not even realise, is there, that little thing there, is where a little onboard solid-state drive sits now. I didn't even know they existed 2 weeks ago. This is why I'm doing this video, you know, just so you can, it's going to be long. Oh, crikey, I don't even know why I'm bothering doing it, but, right, the latest motherboards, okay? I'm not talking AMD and Ryzen 9 and all that. I'm just doing Intel because that's what I have and that's what I bought. So anyway, the latest chipset, all the little bits and bobs and doodads and doohickeys on the mothery boards. The designation is Z790. December 2022. The latest board you can get is a Z790. Okay, whatever manufacturer. They come in loads of different sizes, okay, but you're just going to buy an ATX motherboard, okay? You're not going to get a 790, you're going for a 690. But like I say, when you understand the socket and the RAM and the motherboard as a unit, you'll understand why people are upgrading to it, and you're going to buy the incarnation previous second-hand on that popular auction site for less money. And will you notice the difference? No. You will? No, you won't. Yes, you will? No, you won't. Yes, you will? No, you won't. Who cares? You're just going to buy second-hand stuff cheap. Right? That's the sole purpose of this video. To tell you what's brand new and what's available second-hand. I can't reiterate that fact anymore. So anyway, Z790 chipset. This socket, the physical size of this socket, okay? It's important to know that is an LGA 1700 socket, okay, and these new boards come with DDR5 RAM, 790 chipset, Wi-Fi, M.2 NVMe. I'm going to come to that. There's onboard solid-state drive, LGA 1700 and DDR5. You've got to know these numbers, okay? You have to write this down. Okay, now, the latest Intel chipset, I'm boring myself, okay, is Z790. The chips, LGA 1700. The latest chip is an i9, they call it a Raptor Lake, okay, and it has 24 cores. Right. They call the Raptor Lake a Generation 13, but it's physically the same plug and pin count, LGA 1700, as the Generation 12 Intel Alder Lake. The i9 on an Intel Alder Lake, I've got one downstairs, I bought it second hand for cheap, okay, is 16 cores, right? It's physically the same pin count, right? Intel Alder Lake, LGA 1700. The plug, LGA, the socket, LGA 1700. The physical size, 12th gen, Alder Lake. i9, we're just going for the top count. You can get an i3, i5, i7. The one in this machine is an LGA 1700 i5 with 10 cores. You know, the one downstairs, you know, LGA 1700 Alder Lake i9 16 cores. Why there's so much difference and variation, I can't understand. Why don't you just put out i9s? Why are you putting out i3, i5, i7? Just put out i9s. Manufacturing that, I mean, and selling an LGA Raptor Lake 24 core chip for 800 quid, and then doing i3s, i7s, i5s and i7s, what's the point? Just put out i9s, you know. Anyway, boring myself again. Now, okay, your Z790 board, 400 quid, okay? Your Raptor Lake LGA 1700, 24 core chip, £800. Your DDR5 RAM, whatever that costs, you know, that fluctuates in price, but we're coming to that. So just your board and your chip and your RAM. Your board is 400 quid, Z790, and your chip's 800. That's 1200 quid. And 4 RAM sticks, DDR5. We'll call it £400, £100 a stick. Okay, what's that? What's that worth? What's that? That's loads of money. That's £1,600 just for a motherboard, chip, and RAM. That's what people are buying now, December 2022. Right now, I bought an i9 Alder Lake LGA 1700, second hand, 375 quid. Okay, that Z790 i5 10 core, and I think they're 32 megs of DDR4 RAM. They're second hand, £300. It's out there because people are buying the new stuff. Do you understand? This will do him or her a Z690 DDR4 RAM i5 10 core chip. But what's really, really, really confusing, okay, is the generation before the LGA 1700, which is LGA 1200. They come on a Z490 board, okay. The RAM's the same DDR4, but you won't get DDR5 RAM on a Z490 board ever, okay. These go i3, i4, i5, i9, you know. That's why it's so confusing. You can see there's physical size difference to the chips. So, if you're going to buy stuff now, okay, you buy a board with an LGA 1700 socket for DDR4, Z690 DDR4. You know, it's there in black and white, because you can put a 24 core Raptor Lake chip on that board. You know, the thing with RAM is DDR5 RAM. When you buy it now, it's 6,200 hertz. This DDR4 RAM maxes out. I think I don't know, but that in there 3,200 hertz frequency. It's just zeros and ones. But the physicality of the board, you know. Look. Where's the picture? Where's the picture gone? Where's the picture gone of the DDR5 with Wi-Fi? The physical chip socket, LGA 1700, DDR5, onboard M.2s. We'll come to that next because I'm boring myself. Okay, if you buy a putator now, right? These boards, a Pro. I think A means. I think what have I got there? P. I think A. These boards are 200 quid without Wi-Fi. A Pro Z690P, which is that, right? No Wi-Fi. New, I think they're £200. DDR4, you see. They want to get rid of the old stock because everything's going DDR5, even though it's LGA 1700. Right, get to the point, man. Get to the point, man. You're losing them. You're losing them. Look at the power in. Look, you see the power in. That's CPU power up there. There's 2 blocks of 4 on that one. Okay, these 2 extra channels here, I reckon they're for Wi-Fi and something else, because up there there's only a block of 8 and a block of 4. No one will tell you this because no one's interested. I'm only vaguely interested because the power connectors, when they're 8 pin plugs, you have to twist them you twist them, you know, and then you've got a plug with 4 just hanging there doing nothing. And it's aggravating. It's aggravating. Not that I've got OCD. It's just aggravating. Right, moving on. So you know what you got to get on your shopping list. Look, the next generation back. You want a motherboard. You want ATX motherboard. It's got to have an LGA 1700 socket. Okay. In December 2022, if you buy the 1200 socket, you're just wasting your money. Now you can get an LGA 1700 motherboard, DDR4 or DDR5 RAM. The DDR4 RAM version is going to be cheap. Okay, new they're 200 quid. Second hand's going to be £100. If you're strapped for cash, you know, LGA 1700s. Look, you can get i3, i5, i7, and i9. i9 second hand, they're £400 for a 16 core chip. Just get an i5 or an i7, and you've got a £100 board, you know, £100 to £200 chip, and you can use your old DDR4 RAM, and that's a good start. So let's just talk about the operating system, because it involves the next part, which is this M.2 thing here, right? I'm boring myself. I don't even know why I'm bothered doing this. I really don't, you know. Where's my picture? Where's my picture? Right, there you go. Now this is if you don't know anything about computers, like I did. I didn't even know these things existed 2 weeks ago. Okay, right. Now that thing plugs in on the board. It's where the operating system resides, if you like. Okay, it's a 500 gigabyte version. Okay, and see that screw there? Click to the actual plug where you plug it in. Right, look on that board there. See where you plug it in? See those 3 or 4 threaded bungs or riv nuts or whatever they are, threaded inserts in the things. Okay, this at 500 gigs that long, half of it's probably 256 megabytes of doings. Then you screw it in there. So when you've got like a tiny little small form factor modern computer, you know, they probably it's a size issue, but it isn't when you're fitting it onto an ATX board. So you can put a big. These are expensive. You can get 2 terabyte versions of this now that are crazy expensive, which the mad people are buying just because there's, you know. I'm not going to say in America and where biggest is better, you know. You try parking a 21-foot left-hand drive 6.9 litre car in West London on a Saturday afternoon, or driving it round. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. But anyway, yeah, you put your operating system on here. These can be found in those little small form factor PCs, them little tiny things, right? What you do, you buy one of them, okay, and you update it to Windows 11, and you take this out after you've put your 8 megabyte little thumb drive that you buy from Argos, that SanDisk thing, 8 megabytes. You back up, I call it backing up your Windows 11 onto that. You take that out of your small form factor PC, you plug it on your new second-hand motherboard, click, and then you put everything together, switch it on, plug that in, and away you go. But there's always a but. What's the but? Just a little PC is going to cost you 100 quid. A version of Windows is 90, and these things are 50. So you may as well buy everything brand new, which is the way to go. So, what are these things actually called? The socket's M.2, right? The actual socket's M.2, but these are called an NVMe drive, you know. So, I mean, just trying to explain to you, if you don't even know what the fuck, you don't even know that these fucking things existed, right? Is it? You know, you don't even know it exists, and it's called an NVMe M.2 500 gigabyte solid state drive from whatever manufacturer, you know, man. But if you're building a new putator, December 2022, you've got to do this, okay? You've got to do this. You've got to have your operating system on board on the M.2 NVMe. It's called an NVMe drive, but the plug is M.2. There's some differences, okay, in these things, the way they plug in the boards, but I'm not sure because it's like the NVMe thing and thing. I really don't know. So anyway, where have we got to? Let's just redo a recap. Okay, we know we want a motherboard. Okay, whether it be DDR4 or DDR5, it has to have an LGA 1700 socket. Okay, because you can go 12th generation or 13th generation chip. And you can go as low as an i3 LGA 1700 12th gen chip. Cheap. Okay, and you can get brand new a Pro Z790 board for DDR4 for £200. You can get second-hand one for 100 quid. You know, i3 or i9 16 core for. I bought the second-hand one for £375 6 days ago. Maybe a couple of weeks ago. I bought an i9. This is an i5 10 core LGA 1700. But these are the numbers you need to type in. Write them down. Look. You need an LGA 1700 socket. You know, it's 12th gen. 12th. This is why it gets so confusing. Okay, because you've got to write 12th gen. You know, and then you've got to write what is it? Alder Lake. All these. You see, like the SSD drive. The socket's physically LGA 1700, but it's a 12th generation Intel chip and Alder Lake. It's like, why do you call things 4 different fucking things? You know, it's just an LGA 1700 i9. How many cores? Why call it an i3, i5, i7, i9? Just say it's a 16-core LGA 1700 chip, and be done with it. You know. It's not marketing, it's just to confuse you, because, right, you can go, oh, Comet Lake, and then get the wrong board. What's happening, right, is people are buying a new board that takes this chip, they're trying to squeeze this one on, okay, they're putting it in, it goes in, they pull the big clip down, and they bend all the pins. So watch out for that one. You're buying second-hand motherboards on that popular auction site. Because don't go anywhere near anything with a bent pins, because it's not bent pins on the chip. Okay, how it works now is, since this incarnation of chip into Comet Lake, the previous version of this LGA 1150s, the pins were on the chip facing you. Okay, and they plugged into the board. Now there's no pins on the chips. Okay. The pins are spring-loaded almost, little fingers. They're not pins, they're fingers touching these gold blobs. They touch the gold blobs. And what you should never do, you know, people are probably getting isopropyl alcohol, cleaning the socket with little pins with a cotton bud, and just mashing the granny out of them, you know. But like I say, I didn't know that 2 weeks ago. You won't know that. You know, it's this sort of stuff that you are cracking. Right. Anyway, so we've done the motherboard, chip, and RAM. Right. Let's hope we've done the motherboard, chip, and RAM. Don't go for anything older than LGA 1700 December 2022, because you're wasting your time. Let's write down on the shopping list then. For fuck's sake! So you want a solid state drive, right? The physical socket's called an M.2. What the fucking hell does that mean? Don't know. Right, and it's an NVM. It's actually an NVM, but they put E on it. Right? I don't know why. But, and what size do I get? Oh, I don't know. You only want it for the operating system. So, you know, do you need a 500? They do a 2T one. The mad people are buying them and probably selling on their 500 gigabyte versions. But they do it in 256, so... Shopping list, motherboard, ATX, chip socket, LGA 1700, DDR4, DDR5 RAM. Get the DDR5 RAM if you can. It'll be a 12th gen socket Alder, you know, Alder Lake. Man, just to confuse. This is all just to confuse you. So you buy stuff twice. You know, solid state drive on board. They should just call this an onboard SSD. You know, onboard SSD. What size would you like, sir? Oh, I don't know. Oh, instead it's a solid state drive M.2 and NVMe. So we've got there, which is great, because I must tell you the truth. I'm boring myself here, trying to explain this to you. You know, but I sat down and went through all this from the generations before. I can tell you now that it's backwards. He went LJ 1700, LJ 1200, the generation before with the pins coming out 1150, 1151, and there were a few in between, because I've read all the Wikipedia sites. Like 15 years ago, I bought a PC. It cost me 800 quid, and it had a socket 1366. And I went out and I bought the best of everything. It had the first generation quad core chip, i7. You couldn't get an i9 back then. And it had DDR3 RAM, 3 sticks of 2. It was the latest thing 15 years ago, just before Windows 7 come out. That's how you know how it is. And I still got it. I just sold it for 35 quid, the machine. I paid 800 odd pounds 15 years ago. So there you are, you know. Motherboard, chip RAM, onboard SSD. Okay, LJ 1700, DDR4 or 5. Get the DDR5 board. You know, you won't get a second-hand one. This is what I'm saying to you. You won't get a DDR. You won't get a Z690 with DDR5 second-hand. I did, but it was a micro ATX board in white that nobody wanted. But that's in the son's PC downstairs, and I bought 4 sticks of DDR5 second-hand because someone sold them because they wanted this is called RGB. All of this, we'll come to this. This is called RGB. I call it disco lights. Okay, the bloke had 2-month-old DDR5 RAM at 6200 hertz. Sold it half price because how can you be upgrading from 6200 RAM just because it's got disco lights on? There's no logic to it. You know, it was less than half price. And I bought the chip. I bought an i9 16-core chip off of him for 375 quid. This is 10 days ago, because if we're November, December 2022, the i9 24-core come out. So he sold me his chip and his RAM. I bought a second-hand board. It just happened to be Z. I didn't even know what it was till it arrived. It was a Z790 for DDR5 micro ATX in white. In a black version of this Lian Li 011 Dynamic Mini Black, delivered 300 quid with the power supply unit. So that brings us on to power supply units. Okay, all this newfangled stuff. Did you remember earlier I said about up there, 2 ports of 8 for the CPU power? You know, 2 might be extra for the Wi-Fi. Big fat graphics cards. We're going to leave that to last, but they want more power from the power supply. Power supplies are just switching power supplies, right? Now, years ago, you might not remember that they looked like that. You know, 10 years ago, the wires came straight out of the switching power supply. You know, these things are called modular now, where they're modular. The wires don't come straight out. The wires are separate. You just click them in and then click them into the various parts. This is like a ATX power. This is like motherboard chipset power with another one next to it, and then you got one for CPU power, and then you may have 2 for CPU power, and then you've never got enough nowadays for your latest 24 gigabyte graphics card. They've got 3 banks of 8 pins, so you've got to have 4 cables, and they piggyback them. But like I say, we're leaving that to last. Okay, on some cases, I'm enjoying myself now. Like this case, okay, is a Lian Li 011 Dynamic Mini, right? Now the beauty of a case like this is it's small. Now the significance of the glass on the front of these cases, because you say, oh, glass fronted case, what's all that about, right? It's nothing to do with seeing through, right, for the disco lights in the fans and the bits and bobs on there. The significance of having a glass front was tubular liquid cooling, but we're not going to go anywhere near that. That's why this nuance exists for glass fronted PC case. Okay, I didn't even know that until 2 days ago. I just thought you bought them to see the disco dancing lights, which is, you know, but it's just, I really don't know. But we'll stick with just this, just because they're nice. Snow, if it's not a snow one, it hasn't got white around the, you know, like when you bond in a windscreen. This is just so these white lines around here, just so you can't see the the hardware, the physical hardware, not hardware, computer hardware, the hardware holding the panels on. Right, cases, mini cases, bigger cases. Why do I get a big case? Why do I get a little case? Right, because right, switching power supplies, the physical size of them, right? SF. I'm sure SF means small form factor, right? And you go, what? And you go, yeah, what? Right? You can't put a big power supply in that case. It physically doesn't fit, right? SF, small form factor, the size of this from here to here to here, and the screw layout, this is a small form factor, right? The worrying thing is as well now is, I think the max you can get is a 750 watt small form factor power supply. But if you go and fit one of those 24 gigabyte humongous 4090 graphics cards that come to here, that look like, they don't even look like they're bigger than a house brick. They look like a concrete block, the size of the things. They've got three power connectors, 3 blocks of 8. That want to be plugged into this power supply, but you got to daisy chain the power. Switching power supply units, I always thought that you need a nice stream of, you can't be parallel series. I don't even know what that means, but there aren't on the small form factor power supply units, right? That's ATX power. That one is the one beneath the ATX power, I think, or above it. I can't remember. I'm unsure. I'm looking. No, yeah. That's something, and that's something, and that's, and you've got like 3 open bays. Anyway, this is more just so you know. If you buy a mini case, you've got to get a small form factor power supply unit at 750 watts if you want to run a later. We get to the graphics cards, but you want a 750 watt power supply in your mini Lian Li 011 dynamic mini case. And the worst thing is with them, if you get a white case, if you get a white case, you want to get a white power supply unit because you can see the back. That's how I'm going to say anal it's become, but it has. Who cares that you can't see? It's all about aesthetics rather than computer power, like it used to be. Yeah, look. The back of that, you see that. If it's a white case, you see the this could be white. You can buy them white, and the cables coming from the power supply unit now, they can be white or black or braided. Right. So power supply units, motherboard, chip, RAM. We want disco dancing lights. Right. Cooling. Cooling. Right. Cooling. Right. Graphics cards aside, because we haven't got one in there, this thing sitting on here, I don't know how old it is. It's kind of new. Right, we'll do fan control. We'll do fan control in a bit. But like I said, these cases, people used to custom build water coolings. They used to get a water block that went over the chip. They make their own tubes going through radiators. Do you know, like a motorbike radiator? If you look through the fan there, you can just see that it's physically a little motorbike radiator, probably off something because they're long and thin. But it'll be a motorbike radiator. Don't worry about that. Mass produced somewhere, and in this behind here is actually like a centrifugal. It's got to be a centrifugal pump. Right, the design of it is copywritten, or what the the patent's owned by one firm. So there's loads of different companies making them, but there's only one patent for the design of the pump because it's a nuance, I'd say. I don't know. But the funny thing about this version is this NZXT, the NZXT Z63 Kraken. Right, I'll run the numbers. The good thing about this one, why don't you say good? You don't even need it. You don't even need it. But I'm trying to pick up some stuff. trying to click up some stuff. I can't even remember. I can't even remember the how you do it. Because, like I say, it's only been. I've only had it. I've only had it a short while. But you can. But that is monitoring the. Is monitoring the CPU temperature. Damn, I don't even. I'll find a way, and you can just change. You can change. You get this NZXT cam, and I don't even know how it works. Lighting. Oh, there you go. Look, image. I won't show the images there, but look, you can project an image onto it's got a little LCD screen. Now, if you don't get one of them in December 2022, then you're just out of the game. Right, liquid cooling, little pump in there, centrifugal pump into the motorbike radiator, and comes back, and you can project an image onto the thing. So groovy, you know. That there. We'll come to fan sizes shortly, but that one thing there is £220. But you got to buy one. I don't care what you say. You got to have an AIO. It's called an AIO. There are other manufacturers that even do this, but you have to buy the radiator and the fan specific to the case size. Okay, normally they're 320mm fans in a row like this with a radiator beneath. They're called a 360 AIO. Okay, that would be a Z73 Kraken from NZXT in black or white. You know, that one's a Z63, but it's 140 wide by 280 deep. You know, this is a 140mm fan, and that's a 120mm fan. So we bored ourselves with the cooling, but you've got liquid cooling. I don't know if it's still, you know, people, I think, custom made a little block and a pump, a little goldfish pump. Remember that goldfish pump pumping over the heat plate? It's only a little bit of copper on top of the chip. But now manufacturers have just got wise. I don't know since when, I don't care. And then they just make an all-in-one unit that fits in the case nicely. You know, there's no space, you know, that isn't taken up. Anyway, right, 140mm fans. Now, in fact, I'm not even going to bother changing these because I've forgotten how to, because I've only this computer, you know, it's just made with the scraps of the one that's downstairs. That's got the big fat graphics card in, the i9 with a 16 cores and a DDR5 RAM. This was almost like the mistake computer, but now this is mine. I mean, I like the small form factor stuff, and I've got this massive behemoth. That's the thing. I've got this massive behemoth on this little desk, and I'll probably revert back to my small form factor because this, I don't even know why I got this. I'll tell you why I got this, because bought that, and then upgraded it within, you know, I don't know why. I must admit, I don't know why. But these fans are this is the leftovers from buying lots second hand. You know, this is a Lian Li 120mm AL. Right, so we'll talk about fans then. I'll get the picture up. Great. Crikey, this video must be going into the hours and hours. Fan control. Right. See the zones. You've got one zone here. You'll have a fan on the back there. You'll have fans up the top and a fans to the side. 4 zones, right? 1, 2, 3. You've got 4 zones. Right, that's what's known as a fan controller. Okay, it takes its own SATA power. It plugs into the SATA power, and you've got your own bit of software to control how the disco lights in the fans work. It's called RGB. It's not motherboard controlled. It's controlled. It doesn't interest me. So, you know, it probably interests you know, someone else, but not me. But you can max out on 4 zones. It's the way this is ideal because it makes you buy fans that you don't need. You know, you probably need 1 exhaust fan and 1 fan cooling the radiator, and you don't need any more of this. But if you'll bore yourself to tears going and looking and read and going on that tube thing, watching videos about air pressure and CPU temperature, and oh mate, it's so boring. So you just, if you're getting an 011 dynamic Lian Li mini case like this, 3 at the bottom, 3 at the top, 1 at the back, and get the AIO 280 with a dancing thing in there. It's expensive. I mean, they are 240 new, but that was second hand, £108 delivered, so I bought that. No, this is what I'm saying. This video is squarely at buying second hand parts used. Someone bought that and it didn't fit, hence it was for sale. You've got to look, you've got to know the numbers. The Z63 Kraken by NZXT. Nothing in this computer is new, it's all second hand. And the one downstairs with a massive 3090 graphics card, all second hand. There you are. So you know, so fan controllers, you buy 3 of them in a box with a fan controller, it's 75 quid. You don't need the fan controller from that zone, you don't need a fan controller for it. But when you buy another 3, they sell you another fan controller that you don't need. You know, and then that for that one, you buy that, they sell you a fan controller that you don't need. It's quite aggravating, really, but that's why these are here. Because I bought 11 second-hand fans, and I already had the controller. I think, I can't remember, I don't care. Graphics cards, okay. If it's 2022 now, and even if you're green to these computer stuff, you know about Bitcoin, or whatever that meant. I don't even know what it means now, and I don't care, right? The price of graphics cards, if it's December 2022 now, and during the lockdown, people were still manufacturing graphics cards and selling them, right? Now look at that. That's a Bitcoin mining rig full of graphics cards. Okay, graphics cards, when they're released to the market now, right, people buy a pallet load and build a mining rig like that to mine Bitcoin. I don't know what it means. Honestly, I have got no clue. Okay, but that's why you can't buy second-hand graphics cards, or the price of them went crazy. And it's crazy now. I just bought a 3090 graphics card for £800 second hand. I couldn't believe that's what you had to pay for a tiny bit of electronics like this. Anyway, my advice is just get a graphics card, okay, that hasn't got a DVI port on the back. And if you're a complete novice, all right, you say, oh, you say that. Look at the back here, right? It's one HDMI and 3 of them, okay? This is a 2080, right? With still got 2 banks. Look, 2 banks of 8 plugs, 16 things going, piggybacking, pigtailing in one supply from the power supply unit. It's going to pull some amps. You know, my only advice is, see that there? See this here, the DVI port? Just don't get a graphics card with a DVI port in, because it's old tech, you know. See the DVI? This is a DVI port. I wish the picture was a bit better. Just because the march of time. And that's all I'm saying about graphics cards, because it's bonkers. It's ridiculous. The one downstairs has got the power in is 888, triple time X8. It's like, what? You got a small form factor power supply unit. It's only got a certain amount of outputs, you know. Switching power supplies, 100 odd quid. It's ridiculously expensive. So I don't even know where. So getting into Windows 11. Basically, Windows 11 won't run on an old-fashioned disk drive. I don't think. I think that's why they've had it so the file format. Well, it's not NZXT. I can't even remember what it is. But if you want to take an operating system from a laptop and take the SSD out, you have to reformat the laptop before you back up your Windows and before you take it out and take the hard drive out and change the actual the format of the drive. But just buy a new. You're not going to get one of them. No one's going to be opening up a new, even a silly little small format PC still worth 150 quid with them in. Just buy a new one of them and new Windows. But get second-hand motherboard, chip and RAM, you know. And if you buy it, tell them to leave the chip on the board, you know. And you need like a, they call it, oh crikey, you want to see the amount of videos there are for heat transfer paste, you know. And oh, do I put an X, do I put a blob, do I do a squiggly line? It's ridiculous because you actually screw this thing, you screw it down, you know. The pressure there will just push it out like not like decorator's caulk or body filler or anti-squill copper slip or toothpaste. It's nothing like that. It's thermal paste. It's just like a paste with metal particles in it. So there you go, USB 3. I'm not even going to talk about that audio, I don't care. What's a gaming computer? It's all about the graphics card, which I haven't got. And I'm going to end on that note because they're ridiculous. Just get one, you know, that hasn't got a DVI port and you'll be laughing. 8 gigabyte, 10 gigabyte, 12 gigabyte, 24. The new 49E graphics cards are £2,000, okay? And they're 24 gig, and they got, well, some of them have got one thing that's changing, and the 3 groups of 8. Just get one that ain't got a DVR card. You can bore yourself to tears watching videos about graphics cards and their speeds. Man. And I'm going to end there because I'm bored. Thanks, bye.